Hi. Today is October 1st, which means it's time to wrap up what I read in September, and I'm wearing another one of my spooky shirts. So this is today's shirt by one of my favorite designers online, Book Babe Designs. I love everything. She creates everything, and she can have all my money. And she has a lot of it because I have a lot of stuff. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, first, I'm gonna talk about a book that I actually read last month, and then I forgot to talk about it in my August wrap-up. So I actually read 9 books in August. So I'm not really sure how I forgot it, but it's fine because I read 2 of the sequels this month, so I can just talk about them like all together. So in August, the last book I read was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. It's a YA fantasy, I guess. It was a reread. I read the first 3 books when I was in high school, and then there's like a little gap in publishing, and then the 3 more came out, and so I read those 3 like 2 years ago. So I don't even know how to just like talk about these books. The main character's name is Jacob, and he's like 16, and his whole life he was really close to his grandfather, and his grandfather told him like stories of his childhood. Like he grew up in like an orphanage and like all of these monsters, and he was just like, oh granddad, you're so silly, whatever. Well, his grandfather dies, and he like takes it really hard because it was like mysterious, right? And him and his dad end up taking a trip over to like Wales or whatever, where the orphanage was, because Jacob wants to like find closure. He ends up finding this magical world called like Peculiardom. I don't even know what they call it, like I don't remember. But basically these people have special abilities and they're called peculiars. I literally cannot say that word, I've said it so many times. So they have like special abilities like creating fire from your hands, or being invisible, or being like light as air, just all these weird abilities. And there's like these monsters that hunt them. And so they live in these things called time loops, where it's like one day over and over again, and it's like created by magic, and these like monsters can't get into the time loop. So that's where they live. Anyway, so Jacob finds all this stuff out. Because it's a time loop, they don't age. So like he meets all the kids that his granddad like grew up with, and like they're still kids. They're like his age. And so like he like gets to know all of them, and like chaos happens, you know, there's a plot. There's like an adventure plot. They end up like leaving the time loop and like having to go save someone and fight the bad guy, and like all this stuff happens. I think in the first one is when the bad stuff starts happening, and they don't leave the time loop yet. The first 3 books take place like within 2 weeks. So you know when you read series like that back to back and you like can't keep up with like what's what. I read the first one last month, and then this month I read the second and third one. The second one is Hollow City, and the third one is Library of Souls. And so that like sums up that storyline, and it's like a completed trilogy, but then there are 3 more books that have the same characters and everything, just like a different storyline. I really like these books. They're like really fun. That's why I've read them so many times. I reread them as audiobooks, and they are better to read as physical books, because one of the like key things about these books is they have like vintage photographs in them. Okay, I went and got my physical copy because basically like the photographs are supposed to be like people that are in the book. There is a description of the photograph, so it's not like if you read the audiobook you're like missing anything. And I need to like look into like how he wrote the books. Like I'm not sure if he like found weird pictures and then wrote about them, or like how he did it. But like here's one spread. So it's just a bunch of like weird pictures that relate to what you're reading. Like stuff that doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be because of like that's peculiardom. Oh, this is the second one I'm holding. Doesn't matter. You see the cover, like that girl is the girl that they meet, and she literally like has a hole in her. Like that's her ability. Not that she has a hole in her. I guess it's that she can't be injured. Like I think it heals up. I don't remember. Whatever. Anyway, so that makes it cool to read because it has those like cool old photographs in them. And all 6 books have photographs like that in them. And they all have a cover. Like one of the photos in the book is on the cover. So yeah, this is the second one. The series is really cool. It's like fantasy because like, oh, they have special abilities. But it's like, I don't know. It's not like high fantasy. Found family and adventure and special magical abilities. And yeah, I like this series. I am going to take a break before I reread the last 3, but yeah, fun series. So if you watched my August wrap-up video, I said that I had like watched the new season of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I wanted to reread the books, but I wasn't going to buy the books. Well, I bought the books. So I read the first one, And the second one in September. Okay, if you don't know, The Summer I Turned Pretty is about this 16-year-old named Belly, and every summer her mom and her brother go stay at this beach house with their mom's like best friend and her two sons. She's done it every summer for her whole life. They're like a family, but also she has a crush on one of the boys. She's had a crush on Conrad like her entire life. Well, the summer in the first one is the summer she turned pretty. And so she shows up to the beach house, and Conrad and his brother Jeremiah like notice her, and it starts like a love triangle. Anyway, when I first read these books last year as ebooks from the library, because like I watched the first season and I got obsessed, you know, you've seen the TikToks. It's not that I didn't like it, it's just so YA, like so juvenile, and Belly is so annoying in the books, and it's just like, I don't know, like I enjoyed it, but it was like 3 stars and I was like whatever, but then second season drove me insane and I had to reread it. So I reread the first 2 books because that's like what we have of the show right now, and I enjoyed my reread better than my first read, I think. I don't know if it's because I like know the story and the characters now, and so reading it just made me feel like nostalgia. Like, I don't know how I can feel nostalgia for a book that I just read a year ago, but I felt nostalgia reading these 2 books. And it's not like it reminded me of my own teenage years, because like I was nothing like Belly. I did not have any kind of like fun as a teenager like she did. So I don't know, but I really enjoyed my reread. She was even like less annoying during my reread. Like, I don't even know. Like, I think I just like the characters in the story now. So yeah, I reread both of these in September and I enjoyed it. I'm not changing my rating because it's still nothing like special, but it's fun. It's weird like talking about these books because I don't really have an order to talk about them in, because it's like I prefer to talk about them in the order I finish them in, but since I'm talking about series, I want to talk about them together. But also I was reading multiple books at one time, so it was like really weird to be doing that, and so the order makes like no sense. But anyway, the next book I'm talking about is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was my book club's book for September. This like series has gotten like really popular, which is why my book club read it. But it's basically like Criminal Minds, but with teenagers. So basically these group of teenagers have these like abilities. Like the main character, Cassie, she can like profile. Not like in the way that like people study for years on how to profile. She just naturally can do it. She just naturally knows things about people. And like other people in the group, like there's someone who's like really good with statistics, someone who's like a lie detector, someone who can read emotions, like stuff like that. And so the FBI has created this group called The Naturals, and they have these teenagers and they all live together in this house and they study like cold cases. And so they're like training them to be able to use them on cases. And so yeah, Cassie is the main character. The book starts when she like joins the Naturals. They're supposed to just be working on cold cases and like hypotheticals, but they get pulled into like a real case. I think I would have liked this book better if I read it as a teenager. Like, it is YA and it's not like bad. I just think adult me likes like darker, deeper, mature, more like stuff like that. And this gets a little dark, but like again, it's YA. So I did like it. I think I'm giving it a 4 stars because like I enjoyed it and I really want to finish the series. If you watched my video that I did for the Once Upon a Book Club unboxing and reading vlog, then you'll know the next book I read was The Roughest Draft by Emily Weberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. I did my best. This is a romance book. It's about 2 authors that used to work together to write books, and then they had like a falling out and haven't worked together for a while, but they still have one more book they need to write in their contract, and so they are staying together again for the summer to write that last book. And it's told in dual points of view, so you get her point of view and his point of view. You also get past and present timelines, so you get the timeline of them writing their current book, but you also get the timeline of them writing their last book, which is the one they like had the falling out over. I didn't love this book. Like, it was entertaining. I'm glad I read it, but basically I was worried about cheating the whole time because I don't like reading about cheating. I saw all this on my reading vlog, so I just had like an ick reading it. I liked it. It was entertaining. I didn't love it. I do like reading about like readers and writers, so like that was fun. And I did enjoy that like the book itself paralleled the book they were writing, so that was fun. I think I rated this a 3.5. So like I liked it, and I think if it sounds interesting, you should read it. but it's not like a favorite of mine. The next book I'm going to talk about is the last audiobook I finished in September. I decided to reread The Hunger Games again. The Hunger Games trilogy is one of my favorite series of all time. Yes, I know it's like YA, whatever. If you haven't read it since you were a kid, read it again. I'm telling you, it's different as an adult. I sound like a broken record. I will die on this hill, okay? The like prequel is coming out in November, the movie. And so I'm gonna reread the prequel and annotate it. So I was like, you know, might as well reread The Hunger Games again. So I did reread the first one this month. If you don't know what The Hunger Games is about, don't know where you've been the past 10 years. But anyway, it's about this like dystopian world, like future US, where society is broken up into 12 districts. And then there's like the capital, which is where like the rich people live. And every year, each district has to send 2 of their children to compete in the Hunger Games, which is a fight till the death entertainment spectacle for the rich people. And it's supposed to keep the districts like in line so they're not rebelling again, which is how they started this tradition. So the Hunger Games gets boiled down to like being a love triangle, but like it's literally not. Like romantic love is like the furthest thing on Katniss's mind. Like I swear to God, I'm so sick of people thinking it's just a love triangle. Because it's not. It's a series about political rebellion, family love. So yeah, I reread The Hunger Games again. So the last book I finished in September. I finished the last day of September at like 11 p.m. And I know I am so late. I am so late to this train. But I read Fourth Wing. I am not really into fantasy. Like I've said that before. I don't really reach for fantasy books. So this book came out, like in the spring? Like, I don't know. And I saw it somewhere and I was like, oh, that's the book people are talking about, but I don't really care. I'm not into fantasy. But then people kept talking about it. And I was like, oh, you know, maybe I will like this book. But then it was sold out everywhere. Anyway, I eventually ordered it on Amazon. It took a few weeks to arrive. I got it end of July. I started it in August. I didn't like dislike it, but I only read like 100 pages because it's like, it's fantasy. It's not something I reach for. But the last week of September, I was like, okay, I'm going to finish Fourth Wing because it's just sitting there. And I know it's a great book. So I read the last 400 pages and I love it. I'm still trying to gather my thoughts on this book because it is insane. Like, it does live up to the hype. So if you somehow don't know what Fourth Wing is about, it's about a dragon school. So the main character, Violet, her mom is like the general in this world. Not the world, but like this little... I'm so bad at talking about fantasies. Anyway, her mom says she has to be a dragon rider. She has to go to like the school to train how to be a dragon rider, even though her whole life she's wanted to be a scribe and just like study and like be like the historian or whatever. Her mom makes her go there even though she's probably going to die there because, by the way, the dragon school is where people, like most of the people die. Every step of the way, training and whatnot, people die because they're trying to like get rid of all the weak people. So Violet tries her best not to die. And I don't know, all this stuff happens. Obviously, it's like 500 pages. And no, I don't have the sprayed edges and I wish I did. But anyway, this book right off the bat reminded me of Divergent, but better. I loved Divergent when I was like middle school, high school, whatever. I loved that series. And like looking back, it kind of sucks. Not like that well written. But this like does that plot, but like does it better. And maybe that's why I liked it so much. I really, really love this book. I really enjoy it. I didn't want to put it down. I was blown away by this book. I love the enemies to lovers. I love enemies to lovers. And boy, does this book do enemies to lovers well. People talk about like the ending of this book being insane, and I'm not sure if they mean the last 50 pages or the last page. Obviously, I'm keeping this spoiler free, but I will say the last 50 pages I didn't anticipate. The last page, I guessed that. Like, I just feel like that was going to happen. So I feel like the ending was really hyped up, and I don't know if the ending lived up to the hype, but the book in general did, if that makes sense. I haven't decided on a rating yet because, like I said, I just finished it last night and I immediately went on TikTok because I've been avoiding spoilers. So I immediately went on TikTok. I'm thinking 4.5 stars and I'm very, very excited for the next one. Finally read Fourth Wing. I know what people are talking about. And yes, I already want to reread it. Don't know when I'll do that, but I already want to. So yeah, it is worth the hype, which I'm sure everyone tells you that it is. So those are the books I read this month. I read 3 audiobooks, 5. I read 8 books. Yeah, I read 8 books. So now is the time for me to do my like book haul of September, except for I bought so many books, it needs to be its own video. So that's gonna be its own video. And I really need to like calm down on buying books because I went a little crazy in September. So now on to the like bookish thoughts section of my wrap up. We're talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty again because I'm still not over it, obviously. But what I have to add to my thoughts this month is because I reread the books, and I wish I would have wrote this down as I was rereading them because now I'm going based off my memory and it's been a few weeks. I'm Team Conrad, okay? Like I am. Was Team Conrad watching the first season. I was Team Conrad reading the books. Team Conrad watching the second season. Team Conrad rereading the books. Don't care. Team Conrad. Okay. I'm also rewatching the series, by the way. I rewatched the first season because I hadn't watched it since last year when I first watched it. First of all, there are differences in the book and the show. Obviously, I'm not going to get into all of that. I am going to say that the Jeremiah plot comes out of nowhere in the books. This is maybe a little spoilerly. I swear there's like nothing in the first book about him liking her. Like nothing, okay? Because like the books are from Belly's point of view, and she's focused on Conrad, so maybe that's why. But like, I don't feel like there's any kind of inkling that like Jeremiah has a thing for her in the first book. And then in the second book, I still feel like it kind of comes out of left field. Like at the end, they're just like, spoiler, they just get together at the end. And I'm like, where did this come from? Like it just is not there in the books. Like Jeremiah's thing for her is not in the books. And I just don't know how people can like root for Jeremiah if they've read the books, which I know most Jeremiah shippers are only watching the show. Okay, I did watch the first season when I had COVID last year, so maybe I wasn't like fully with it. But when I first watched the show, I did not see Jeremiah's feelings until the fireworks scene, but rewatching it, they're there the whole time. But I still stand by that he started liking her when she turned pretty, but Conrad saw her the whole time. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. I will say that the Jeremiah plot is not in the books. I like that they added it to the show to like actually make it a love triangle, because in the books it's just barely a love triangle. But anyway, those are my thoughts on The Summer I Turned Pretty. Not that you asked. A lot of books are coming out soon that I'm counting down to. I'm looking forward to Cassandra Clare's new release in October, like in like 2 weeks or something. She's writing like her first adult high fantasy book. So it's like not Shadowhunters related. So I'm excited to read that. I don't really care for high fantasy, but I like Cassandra Clare. So I'm interested in seeing what she has to say. And A Curse for True Love comes out in October. I literally cannot wait. Of course, Iron Flame comes out in November. Looking forward to that. I know the next Divine Rivals book comes out in December. Looking forward to that too. Those are the books I read in September. It was a good reading month. Obviously, half the books I read were rereads. More than half the books I read were rereads. So obviously I knew I was gonna like it going into it. But yeah, I enjoyed my reads. I'm really looking forward to my spooky reads in October. I, love the spooky time. So thanks for watching me ramble on about the books I read. And maybe you'll watch me ramble on again. And yeah, bye.
Bailey, say hi to the camera. Say hi to the camera, Bailey. Okay, buddy. Okay. There you go.
Start? Okay. Oh no. Okay. Bailey, just chill. Please. Can you put the air back on? It's hot in here.
Well, yeah, there's a...
Please. I love you.
I love you.